Alright, what's up guys? Gonna do something a little bit different today. So I'm gonna show you how I go about learning a track when I've never driven the track. So I've never driven this track. This is the first time at the track. First thing you want to do is you want to set your weather up correctly. So you see it's 71 degrees. That's about all we can do. So I set it to 71. I just put the wind at 0, and that'll kind of get you in the ballpark for the race week. I'll put a link to the schedule so you can see the rest of the week or the rest of the season as we go through it. So the only other thing we really do, just take a quick look at the track. Doesn't look like a lot of corners, so it shouldn't be that hard to memorize. And then we'll just go out on track. I have never done this before. Usually when I'm learning a track, I'm not talking, so we'll see how that affects everything. Is my telemetry not showing up? There it is. All right, so let's go learn the track. Usually it takes me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes to get a lap. I'm pretty happy with it to where I can put out the good enough lap guide. First, right off so that's how long I expect this video to be. Right off the bat, track seems pretty narrow. Just gonna brake at the 300 markers all the way around to get up to speed. Okay, some gnarly curbs. Another thing I like to do is just kind of drive over the curbs when we're going super slow like this so we can see where these 1X's are. Thank God, no curbs on these two corners. No curb here. I just wonder why they put those curbs in those other corners. So yeah, whole track's very narrow. Oh, this is that bend we saw in the track. That looks a lot more drastic than I thought it was in the track map. So again, we'll brake at the 300. See how much of this curb we can jump over, how much it affects the car.
Slow down. You got a penalty? We're cutting
the
cord.
Black flag, and plus it's a pretty aggressive curb, so we probably won't be going over that curb too much. We got a little right, a little left. Yeah, pretty tight track. I feel like this is going to be a pretty gnarly tractor race out. And then this is a runway, I believe. Alright, so we're going pretty fast here, so we'll brake at the 400, or maybe the 500. Brake at the 500. Again, we're going to test this curb out. See what we're dealing with there. Probably not a curb we're going to jump over. This seems like a curb we want to jump over. But we got a black flag.
And give up that time.
So we'll jump over it less next time. The 400 this time because we're carrying a little bit more speed. Gonna cut over. Ugh. So that time we rode over the curb, seemed alright. First gear corner. The first gear corner, easy getting back on the throttle. Now we gotta remember this is a much tighter bend than we thought, but let's try and go flat out. Looks like we'll be able to, we didn't go flat out because we had cold tires, but looks like we might be able to go flat out. So this time around here, we're not going to take as much curb. I don't even know if we need to touch that curb. So that's a pretty open exit on that corner, so we can probably just carry a lot of speed through there. And then that curb seems to unsettle the car quite a bit, so that's unfortunate because that would be a nice line to take to cut over that curb to straighten everything out there, but it looks like that's not going to be a thing because the car doesn't like it. So braking at the 500. We're going to keep braking at the 500 there for a while. I'm not going to touch these curbs this time. This curb, though, it's just going to be one of those awkward corners where I think you need to go over the curb and you need to just learn how to drive over the curb. So we're at 400. Again, really don't like these curbs, but we gotta deal with them. That might be a situation where we jump over the curb and get the left side tires on the back side of the curb and kind of use it to hook our car around the corner. Alright, tires aren't quite warm yet. We're gonna try and go flat out through here. Looks like we can do it. And we'll go 400. Braking point and not touch the curb. See how open that corner is? I really don't think we need to touch the curb there. Now remember, we can go pretty fast through here. Let's try and touch this curb again at speed. See, the car literally jumps, so we might be able to go over that curb. We just got to be ready for the jump.
New fast flat for you.
Alright, braking a little past the 500 now. So that's one thing about this track. There's not a lot of corners to it, so we should be able to learn it a little bit quicker. See, we jumped over the curb there. Car did pretty good. We're flat out through here. Doesn't look like we can go fully flat out, though. We're going to have to lift a little bit. And we're going to brake before the 400 because we're carrying a lot more speed now. Let's try and cut over this curb. And then let's go backside of this curb. Too much speed through there. No obvious point to brake there. Looks like you can get a lot closer to a wall. It's probably pretty far away from that wall the first couple laps. Tires are not quite up to temp yet either, so 400. Remember, we can carry more speed through here. Not that much speed though, so there we go. So we can carry speed through there, just can't carry that much speed. Alright, so we're just going to keep running laps. Obviously, remember, you got cold tires. The worst thing to do when you're in these situations is just keep crashing on like the first 2 laps. You just have to be patient. Build your speed back up. There's still stuff we can experiment with, like exactly. See, I don't think we want to go over that curb so much that our splitter hits the curb. Sometimes we can get away with that. Again, this curb, we want to, or this corner, we want to really see how close we can get to the wall. Horrible line through here, so I'm just going to lift. And then, so is this a second gear corner or first? I still think, so it's still a first gear corner and cold tires. We'll see if it's a low second gear corner later. Okay, let's see if we, see, it's just such a natural line to hit the curb, but if you don't hit too much of that curb, looks like we're going to be all right. I feel like that last corner is just kind of hug the curb all the way around kind of deal. It could also be a double apex, but we'll need to run more laps to really know for sure. Okay, definitely want to later apex that first corner. Late apex that corner so we can get a better line off the corner and try and carry more speed. Alright, so braking point for that corner is probably coming out of the previous corner. Oh, too close. Not worried about the damage on the car. That's probably not enough to really affect my lap time, so I'm just going to keep driving. Got to remember to take a wider line on entry there. Still got cold tires, so not going to get accurate representation going through that corner. So I think if we jumped over it. So if you're going too fast there, you're going to just catch air. So I think you have to late apex that left part, left turn there at the end. Can't just like muscle your way over and jump over. You'll be way too far offline. You'll be too shallow. And you'll do what I just did. These, I feel like they're 2 trickiest corners of the whole lap. Those are, okay, so as we're coming out of that corner is when we're going to brake for this corner. This corner, you're just on the gas for a second. There's no obvious braking points there. It's just where you're going to kind of have to get the feel for things. One thing that is kind of cool, though, when I do my videos, I can find braking points that weren't obvious when I was driving. And then I can reference them after the fact. So you guys can do that. Like if you're just learning a lap on your own, you can go back and watch where you're braking, and then you can see if you can find anything around you that you can pick out as a braking point. I've done that a lot. Or I'm just kind of doing it more off feel, and then I make the video, and it's like, oh no, I can use that for a braking point. So that's a cool tool you can do, and I recommend doing it in the chase cam, because you can really see when your brake lights come on versus things around you. Alright, let's see if we can get these tires warm. Now, this is a second gear corner. It's pushy, but we got cold tires, so I'm not gonna make any decisions yet. I feel like you want to swing it out wide like that so you can get a better line through there. And just these corners. I feel like you just want to, as like unsettling as it is to just beat your car over that curb, I feel like that's what you kind of got to do. And we're coming out of the corner. See, that's a tricky situation because you need to shift to second gear, but you need to only basically be in second gear for a fraction of a second. So we'll see how that develops as the tires get warm. So yeah, you can go full throttle through there. We're going to brake at the 400 here. You're going to go down to first gear. I think that is a first gear corner. We'll see how it is when we got warm tires though. So one reason this might be a double apex is because I feel like you need a shallower line coming into that corner, because the way you have to treat that little right-left chicane kind of shoots you off to the right, so you kind of naturally come in at an earlier apex. But we might be able to just hold a line all the way around once the front tires get a little more warm. Okay, so that's definitely how you want to do that. And you'll come out and hit that little point. I'm going to slow down next lap and show you what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard to... There's just a little point there that kind of jets out, and I feel like you kind of want to aim and get as close to that as you can and then turn in for that previous corner. So again, we're first gear, second gear, brake. There is a little black board, probably like a caution light thing on the right that we can use as a braking point reference. Am I mouse person? Oh yeah, I can use that. Cool. Go 400 again. I feel like we can be a little, I don't know, it's a pretty good braking point right now. I feel like as long as you keep 2 of your tires on the ground there, you'll be alright. So right now we're half a second off our optimal. Still feel like I probably have a lot more time to find out there. Just in the beginning stages learning. Alright, so I feel like first gear is the gear you want to be in here. We want to cut over this just like that. And then see this little point right here? I think we want to get all the way out here so then we have a good line coming through the corner. And this first curb is just god awful. I still don't know what to do there. And then see this this board. This is what I'm using for my braking reference point for this corner right here. So we're starting to get a little semblance of a lap together. Kind of general idea of what we should be doing. We just kind of got to keep pushing things, moving braking points forward just a little bit until it's just simply too far. Here, just try and cut over, give us a better angle. Being very, was not pushing that at hard, just being super smooth through that part. So now I know I can brake at 500 here pretty safely, so I'm just going to keep moving it up. Plus the tires are getting warmer. So like I said, we're going to cut over here pretty aggressively. We're going to go find that point, and we're going to bring it back. Wasn't perfect. We'll keep working on that. I still feel like I need to brake before the 400 marker because we're just getting faster and faster now in that previous section. Dude, that corner is terrible. Like, whoever put that curb in there needs to get shot. It's like such a... I need to actually look at the corner and see if there's like a reason they even need a curb there, because that is just... I don't like it because it's... the car hates it, and two, it's just like it leaves the door open, so like somebody can just like, if you don't want to go over that curb and destroy your car, somebody else can go inside of you, hit that curb, lose complete control of their car, and then take you out. Like, it just seems like a terrible situation. Woo. Definitely first gear. Yeah, I feel like you just kind of want to hug that curb best you can all the way around. Alright, so we got down to an 18.6 optimal. We've been doing this for about 17 minutes, so there's probably another, just based off these things, there's probably another half second to 3/4 of a second for me to gain, if not more. So I was second gear through there on an accident. Wasn't the end of the world. I do need to start my turn in a little bit sooner here, so you can definitely go through that corner full throttle. Remember, we're carrying even more speed now, so we need to make sure we're stopping before... well before that 400 marker. I hate that corner. This corner isn't... ugh, they're just... I'll stop complaining about it. We all know how I feel about those two corners. Everything else is, you know, pretty straightforward. There's always got to be some tricky corners, though. That's something weird about racetracks, where there's always got to be like one or two corners that's like, okay, that's the pain in the butt. So that was probably the best we got through that corner. See how much. One thing about this track is that 1Xs are not a thing. So as long as you don't get taken out and hit by anything, your safety rating will do great. But the odds of you not getting taken out or hitting anything on how narrow this track are pretty small, so they probably felt like, we don't need to give them 1Xs. They're gonna get plenty incident points without giving them 1Xs.
Slow down. You got a penalty.
Oh, alright, so there we go. We found the limit there. So that's one of those ones where you can cut it, but you kind of have to do a later apex to cut it. You just can't cut directly over it. Oh, I kind of feel there's no reason for them to put that curb there. Zero. There's no reason for that curb to be there. Anyways, we gotta live with it. We gotta figure it out. So rear tires aren't even warm yet. That's a mid-late apex. Starting to get that figured out. I feel like you just want to lift here, and you can't overdrive that. If you overdrive it, you're gonna go off into the barrier. So I think we're getting halfway in between the 400 and the 500 mark. See, now we got to take a later and then cut. I didn't cut over as much as I should have, but that's kind of the idea. Then here we're just flat out through there, so now we're hauling butt. So we definitely got to brake earlier, but I'm going to brake a little bit closer to 400, see how much I can push it. I think we just got to drive over that curb. As much as I hate it, I think we have to just drive over that curb. Alright, left rear got warm. Right rear will probably get warm in a couple. Woo, bad line. Out of left. You really got to make sure you get an outside line there. outside end can't be too shallow, you're gonna have to lift. So if you don't hit the curb at all, so I'm gonna have to experiment that with not even clipping that curb at all and just keeping the car more stable and sacrificing initial speed so then I can get a better line going through the 180.
New fast flat for you.
So almost the 400 there. I feel like that's a little too far, so we're gonna have to back it up to half lane between the 400 and the 500. Braking right at the 400, seeing how hard I can push it. Gonna go over this abomination. So when the tires get warm, we can definitely brake way past that black board I was talking about earlier. But we can still use it kind of as a reference. Like, okay, I brake when I'm, you know, a couple car lengths past that blackboard. So again, woo, there's your, oh no, not 1X, this is 0X. So we're gonna back this up in between the 400 and the 500. There we go. That's kind of right in the middle of those two. Seems pretty good. Probably could have had a better line because I want to apex both those curbs. I don't want to push out wide there on the second curb like I did that lap. So I think with this corner we're just gonna here. Let's try it. Let's go around the curb completely. See if what happens to the car when we go around the curbs completely. Kind of hard to tell if we're really faster or not. But so what I'll do to figure that out is we'll get a solid lap in here going over those curbs, and then we'll start doing a couple of laps where we're going around those curbs, and we'll try and see what's better, what's faster, because at the end of the day, whatever's faster is what you need to do. Really don't want to hit a wall right now, so I'll just be patient. Because we got the warm tires. It's a situation where if you try and spin it around, you hit a wall. You got to run 3-4 laps to even get your tires up to speed. And you can tell it's like, takes even longer around here for the tires to get up to speed. So just be patient there, get the car turned back around, get back going. Kind of like the line I had through there. There's 2 rises in that curb. The middle section, the curb goes flat. I was trying to apex at the end of the first part of the rise, just before it goes flat again. Alright, let's try and double apex. So we want to later apex this one. That gets us closer to apexing that one much better, and then that gives us a better line through here. So that was pretty solid through that whole section. Alright, so we are going to go over the curb. Not really, I guess. Kind of over the curb. That's the thing, like, if I didn't even feel like I was that close to the curb, and it still just throws the car up in the air. It's just such an aggressive curb that it's either you just cut all the way over it as much as you can without getting a slowdown, or you completely avoid it, because even if you just barely touch it, it just throws your car up in the air and unsettles it. Alright, so that was braking just past the 400. I think I can pull that off if I brake a little smoother. Completely missed the curb there. So see, I'm trying to apex right here, and then just keep it on the curb all the way around.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
Again, late apex, keeps us tight here, gives us a better angle to go through here. I can just go, and go flat out through here, but we're gonna hit a wall. So yeah, I'm gonna get some fresh tires. Because typically, once I like to see how fast I can get my laps when the tires are all in the 27 PSI range. When they get over that, I think you start losing a little bit of speed. So we're kind of there anyway, so we'll just reset. It's also interesting. Sometimes if you try new stuff and you're on cold tires, you can find out it's faster, and it's like, okay, well, if it's faster on cold tires, I should definitely be doing it on warm tires. And one thing you should be focusing on when you're on these cold tires is just try and be as smooth as you can now. Like you kind of have an idea of what to do with the track now. Now just try and be smooth when you're on these cold tires. And it's good practice anyways for like the beginning of races. And you know, you have to back up your braking points a little bit more. Like I know that's for sure at 400 first lap. One thing I haven't talked about at all though is like how I brake for this. It's like I do a little brake speed check just to make sure we're not too fast going over that curb or that chicane part, and kind of brake again once the car gets settled if I'm jumping over. But that braking point for that last corner is definitely a lot of feel. Like I said, we had a fast sector on cold tires, but a lot of that's track knowledge. No, that's not the most straightforward corner in the world. Like that curb can still unset you, that left-hander back there. I can't remember, can I get a black flag? I'm gonna go look at this curb real quick. It's just such a gnarly.
We got damage on the front end.
I'm gonna go look at that curb. I mean, it really doesn't look like that crazy of a curb, does it? It does not look like that crazy of a curb, but it is. And you can see, like, it doesn't even matter if we barely...
Okay, go.
It's like they made it backwards. Like this part of the curb should be over here, and then this crazy little ridge should be over here. So that's why, like, when you just barely clip the curb, it's just as bad as fully going over the curb. All right, keybinds are off. So I think you're just we'll see what happens when we have to when we can experiment with going over and just not going up. See, this curb's a little more like your natural curb. I don't know what they're smoking on that other curb, but it's a little bit more gradual, and that's what I'm saying. We kind of want to, I feel like we kind of want to get the tire right here. I feel like that's the sweet spot. You don't want to be right on the top. You want to just be on the backside there. Or maybe it just works that it's okay to be on the front side, but we'll only know until we run laps. So we're about 30 minutes in now, which is pretty much my normal situation. Sometimes I can actually get close to knocking out a really good lap in about 30 minutes, but so there we go. That's kind of that sweet spot there I was talking about. It's pretty rare I do that. It's pretty rare though that I go back and like look at curbs like I did there, but that curb is just, I knew there was something weird about that curb. And cold tires, we brake at 400. Got cold tires, so we're gonna, you know, just kind of lift a little early, kind of lift at that previous apex there. And just practice on hitting this later apex and just trying to keep it tight all the way through exit. We're gonna brake at 500 because we have cold tires. And we're just trying to be smooth. We're hitting our apexes, we're staying next to this curb, we got a good line coming into this curb. Just trying to be smooth. So I think with this, we don't want to like just be crazy with our cut. I think we want to kind of find like a middle road. And on cold tires, you definitely want to brake at that black caution light board thingy. And that last corner back there, it's a lot of throttle control to get the rotation and the balance of the car just right through that corner. That's one of those types of corners. Okay, we're kind of up on our relative right now for that last sector. Carried a good amount of speed through there. Woo. Last two sectors we did pretty good. And that's on cold tires, so we know we got a lot more time. We can probably get down into the low 17s is what I'm thinking at this point. High 16s is definitely possible in this weather conditions. If I can do them or not, that's a different story. Somebody can. This might not be me. Alright, so we're not going to cut a ton. Ooh, that was the best reaction we found out of that curve. Broke too late there. Looks like it was actually alright. So again, if I just get on the throttle a little bit, it's just rotating a little bit. And I'm just kind of waiting for the car to complete the corner before I really get back on the throttle. Pretty nice through there. Good exit speed. Lift at that apex. Ooh, that was pretty smooth. Whatever that little sweet spot was we found, because I felt like I took more of the curb than I have lately, and we didn't completely like fly off the curb. So there's a little sweet spot on that curb too.
Just set your fastest lap of the session.
Feel like I can push the tires a little bit more now. See if we can find this sweet spot. 2 laps in a row. Nope. I feel like I don't want to go over this curb until you're halfway through the curb. Fiance came in, a little distraction. Don't know what she said. Yeah. So what's our optimal? 17.7. Again, we're gonna lift at this apex. So you find that sweet spot. Ooh, that was pretty nice. We took a lot of curb there, and we only lost. And only 2 wheels went off the ground. So, low 17s, high 16s would be cool, I feel like, at this point. Nope, second gear. So that confirms second gear is just a no-go there. So sometimes you'll have a brain fart, but, you know, you can still learn from it. It's like, oh, yeah, I didn't downshift that one more time I was supposed to. Definitely can't go through there in second gear. So there's that sweet spot again. We're going to wait to the end of that curb. So I don't think we need to go over that curb in the beginning of the left-hander. I think we might not even need to go over that curb at all. And that could be the same thing for the right-hander too. We haven't really got to testing that out yet. We're still kind of just testing the curbs themselves and the best way to go over the curbs if you do go over the curbs. So I feel like the braking spot for that corner is just past the 400 marker, even when you got good tires. So like now our front tires is in the area I like to call the sweet spot. Alright, I know what I'm aiming for now on that little chicane corner, the little left-hander, so I'll show you guys that. But when the tires are like in these low 70 pressures, I think that's where they're really at their optimal. But it only lasts for a short time before they get up into the 28s, which is kind of their normal operating pressures. A fun little corner, a little slidey poo. Alright, found that sweet spot again. So this corner, I think we might not even need to go over that curb. Really don't know yet. And these are those things like, honestly, that could take a lot longer to learn. I'm just trying to get a good enough lap so I can put out the good enough lap guide, and that's why sometimes I'll say, hey guys, experiment with this corner. See what works best for you, because I really don't know yet, because I haven't done enough laps to really know exactly what the optimal line is. It's just get enough lap to get you started. So, yeah, I know what I'm aiming for now when I'm going over that little left-hand chicane, so I'll point that out to you next time we're on cold tires. Alright, I'm going to see if I can knock out a good lap here, because I'm starting to get to that point where I feel like, okay, we can start knocking out some good laps, some solid, honest efforts. Not the best first. Probably a black flag. No, alright, cool. Trying to carry a little bit more speed through that first right-hander didn't work out. I don't know where you're passing on this track, by the way. There's no obvious passing opportunities. It's like people got to make mistakes, because even the last straightaway, like once you're behind somebody in this corner, like you're not really gonna get a better run off the corner than them and pass them on the straightaway, unless they totally botch that exit. Like you're just not getting a legit. When you're coming out of those slow speed corners, the straightaways, to me, those aren't good passing opportunities. If it was like a fast sweeper in this straightaway, then I think you have a higher likelihood of getting that pass, because, you know, the mistakes amplified that much more if they make a mistake. If you make a mistake coming out of that corner, it's like, yeah, but you didn't have that much speed anyways relative to if you're going through a sweeper. Yeah, let's see if we can put a good lap here. That was nice. Kind of feel like that's the line through there right now. Little too much speed. And that'll happen because, you know, you nailed the corner before, so you really haven't gone into that next corner as fast as you're going. So now you gotta, once you get a corner figured out, okay, we gotta readjust the braking point of the previous corner. So I lifted a little bit later and just had a worse line through there, so that didn't work. I'm just trying to push it a little bit more. But still going to be the best lap so far. So that'll get us into the 17s.
New fast flat for you.
There you go. See, that's the perfect line through there in my opinion. I feel like you do need to lift just a little bit there just so the car doesn't get too slippy slidey on you. Pretty good. All right, we're gonna try and not touch the curb at all. Not too shabby. So that's, you know, please experiment with that. See what works for you. Got a little too throttle happy. Not ideal through there. Oh man, my line is way too shallow through there. I gotta adjust that. Do not have much room for error there. Alright, that's pretty good. Looking for this later apex, then try and keep it tight. Be easy with the throttle getting back on. Full throttle now. We're getting pretty close to the optimal. That's cool.
Just set your fastest lap of the session.
Probably too fast. No, just right. Just right. A little offline there, though. Yeah, that's a sweet spot for that corner. Finally, we figured it out. And I don't think it's the end of the world if you touch that curb. I think you're better off if you're inside compared to being... sorry, I can't talk right now. So let's focus on not having such a shallow line through here. Much better. Yeah, but I was saying, you're better off like just like being more inside than you are being out too far wide on that corner, I think. Because I think you get too far out wide, you put too much wheel into it, and then the car will snap loose on you. Alright. So I feel like... So when I'm in this part of the lap, I'm starting to think about the lap guide. What do I think is a good lap?
You cut that corner and got a slow down penalty.
I'm starting to think about what's a good lap, what's good for the lap guide. So at this point, sorry, I'm thirsty. At this point, I feel like if I can run a 17.4, a 17.3 in a way I'm executing every corner well, I think that's good enough for the good enough lap guide. Do I think in a perfect world, if I sat here for another 5-6 hours, I can get into the 16s? Yes. Do I have the time to do that? No. So my goal now is to run a smooth lap where we're in the, basically the lap time we ran. Kind of curious about something. Basically the lap time we ran, but just smoother. And what's going to happen, hopefully, because I'm trying to be smoother, is we might even go a little bit faster, but we'll see. So I'm just kind of looking, was kind of looking at the damage. Because we are hitting a lot of curbs, so she's going to get beat up a little bit. That was a thing that happened last week, though. There's that one curb, or no, it's in GT4. And that at Adelaide, what turn was that? Like turn 4 or something. If you hit it right, it'd rip the whole front bumper off. Anyways, so another thing we can do right now is we can kind of just go back. And this isn't something I do when I'm making these videos. I just keep running laps. But like I was saying, you guys aren't going to make a lap guide video, right? So you can go back. Am I not able to go further back? I like to be about right here. So we can, let's just go back and I'll kind of show you what I do like in a lap guide video, right? So we can go find our fastest lap, which was this one. It's kind of different when I'm editing videos because I can control the frame rates a little bit. But you know, we can see where we broke right there, right? So we're about halfway in between the 400 and the 500 marker when we broke. Actually, a little bit closer to the 400 marker. So those are those little nuances you can start to figure out when you're just like at this view. You know, we got that nice tight line. We hit our 2 apexes. We're gonna cut over the curb. Here's another thing I can kind of show you guys. I'm kind of aiming for. So I want my front tires right here. This lap I don't do it, but I feel like if you hit this curb just right, like the front should be right here. That's kind of the spot I'm aiming for. Of course, we get to our outside wall, and you can see like I'm not that close to that wall right there, right? So now I can tell myself that, like, okay, that's a 4-foot gap in between me and that wall. You can get closer to that wall, because when you're in the car you feel like you're right on it, but you look back at the video and it's like I ain't. So we're braking right at the 400 there, and then I think I hit the curb pretty well here. So it looks like, was that the one I hit? Yeah, I think that was a good hit. So it looks like what we're really aiming for this curb is that spot right there, right where this white line stripe starts. That seems to be kind of like where the sweet spot is, or maybe just a little bit to the left of it. That's where you kind of want to hit that curb. And it's like you can kind of see how the car, you can actually see the car ramps over it perfectly. Like this back tire is going to ramp off the front side of the curb, and it's going to go down the back side of the curb. It's not landing short, you know, casing the jump and then hitting it and going back up. If you look at it, it's jumping up off the curb, and it did case it a little bit, I guess. But if you can hit that perfectly where you land on the backside, you'll be all right. And then this corner, yeah, I think like going through there is perfect. And you can see, this is that example I'm talking about. Now we got better tires. We're not using this as our braking point anymore. You can see we're actually braking almost as we're getting to this yellow line, or I can use this wall here as my reference point. Sorry, 1 second. Fiance is texting me. Okay. All right. Next. So get out that wall as close as we can. I am still, ooh, see how much closer we can get to that wall? I can't remember if I did that well or I thought I did that well. We're definitely getting close to that wall, and I'm definitely getting close to that wall now. So better line through there. Here we're braking right at the little past the 400. I feel like I did this good this lap. Yeah, so it's still at the 400 because we're carrying a lot more speed through there now. Kind of aiming for a middle late apex. Okay, I can tell you about this now. So, you know, I lift right when we're hitting this apex. I feel like that's the good baseline. And then I'm aiming, let's go in the cockpit because it's a little bit easier to see what I'm aiming for. I'm kind of aiming for right here. My left side tires are kind of aiming for this area. I feel like if you do that, you still have your right sides are not on that curb. It's really hard to see because of the reflection, but see, our right sides haven't gone on the curb yet. So we're not jumping the whole car off. And then the last corner. See, I'm really trying to apex right here. This is what I was talking about, the end of the curb. I'm trying to keep it as tight as I can. You know, you kind of got to work on that, maybe figure out the right speed to carry. So now let's just see if we can put it all together. And I can make a lap good enough. Good enough lap, good. This is the hard part. This is the part that'll, you know, drag me out like another 20-30 minutes, is like really trying to get a lap where I feel good about every corner, good enough that I can make a video out of it. So again, we're just being smooth. Just being smooth with everything, throttle, steering, brakes. And now we know we can get a little bit closer to that wall. We're getting close enough to that wall. We're definitely getting close enough to this wall. So I feel like that's a really useful tool, is using that chase view after you've done some time. Like, you've gotten a decent lap going to, okay, let's see exactly what I'm doing and I can improve it. So that's that spot I was telling you I aim for. We will work on, we saw we could probably keep this a little bit tighter on that second part of the curb. Gold tires. I do feel like it's kind of difficult to get close to that wall. Maybe I'm just not braking soon enough for the first 90-degree right-hander. Alright, take a couple more laps before we can really start challenging my best lap time. Just gonna keep focus on being smooth. Just hit my marks. Oh yeah, that spot I told you to hit, that's the spot. Now we know exactly what we're aiming for when we're going into that curb. Oh my gosh, that's starting to become the hardest part for me now, is figuring out that braking point, turning point for that corner. Woo, that was smooth around that corner. Do that every time. This might be a passing opportunity going into this corner. I just don't know, this track's just so tight. We're just gonna... I definitely won't push anything too hard when it comes to passing people. Whew. Losing a little bit of time in that last sector. But I do have, I'm catching on time on the straightaway, so I must have had better entry but worse exit in that last corner, my best lap. A little lay down shift there. Push this out wide. Alright, we don't really have warm tires yet anyway, so... I need to work. And that's the thing, you know, you can really start focusing, like, I really need, that's, yeah, that was much better through that corner. It's like, I know I really need to focus on that corner, so I'm not, like, too worried about if I'm not getting the smoking laps yet, because I know I still need to figure that corner out, and there's not a ton of pressure on me to nail that corner when I haven't even figured it out yet, when I got a good lap going. So I'm not, like, super disappointed that I messed up the first couple corners, even though the tires aren't warm, because I know I still have stuff to work on. So I can just use that lap as an example, or I can just use that lap to keep working on that single corner, and then hopefully have everything right by the time the tires get warm. Which we're pretty much there now. Like, I feel like we're in the realm that I can run those laps. So we'll see what we can do here. Little too fast. Very conservative in that last corner. It's alright though. I think I can put it together a good lap now. So let's see if we can nail this first section first.
That was your fastest lap of the session. You cut the corner, you gotta slow down and give up that time.
Alright, so what I do now, because I don't want to burn off all my tires, I kind of just take it easy so I can kind of just reset and not use up my tires this lap. I pretty much got everything figured out what I want to do now. Now I just need to execute. And see, we got down to, you know, 17 flat, optimal, and a 17.3 just by trying to be smoother. You know, I'm not really trying to be faster at this point. I'm just trying to be smoother. I do like to kind of pick the speed back up, kind of when you're getting towards the end of the lap, just so you're back kind of in that race flow. I don't like to wait to the last corner before I pick my speed up again. I just feel like it's too much of a difference mentally and speed-wise, and sometimes it just messes you up, throws you off rhythm. That being said, I want to make sure I get a good exit out of this corner. Yeah, let's get this lap. Nope, that ain't it. It's a little too... I overcompensated for cutting it last time. So again, I'm just going to be pretty smooth. I'm not trying to do anything crazy right now. I just want to kind of preserve these tires for the next lap. Got that one corner figured out, and then I didn't get close enough to my apex for that one. See right there, I went way out wide, and I came back in, and the car was just a little loose on me when I got back on the throttle. That's why I don't like getting that far out wide on that corner. Okay, a little bit too much speed through the middle of the corner. But now I'm starting to get brain fatigue. I wasn't even in the right gear that time. Alright, I'm going to give it one more try on these tires, and then I'm going to reset. Because now we're getting to the top of the operating temperature or operating pressure of these tires. Let them lose a little bit of pressure here. And I guess like what I'm doing now is more for the making the video purpose, right? Like, if I'm just learning how to be faster, I'm not doing this whole slowing down to, right now. I'm just continually running laps. I'm just trying to be as smooth as I can. This is more because I know I need to get a lap, or I need to, you know, hit the marks the best I can for you guys, so I can show you guys what I feel like a decent lap is around here. So I wouldn't take this approach necessarily when you're out there trying to just be quicker. This is more for the video. Nope, did not hit her sweet spot. Sorry, I'm gonna practice a little bit here. It's turning in a little bit too early for that corner. Because at this point, so let's say we're just talking about you guys, right? At this point, what you need to do is you just need to run laps now. You got a general idea of like how to get around the track, how to be fast. The only way you really get faster now is just trying to be smooth and keep running laps. So at this point in the video, like I said, this is more about me and how I make my video, and less about how you should continue to improve and take the next step. Because the only thing for me to do personally after this is just run laps. And I'll worry about running a perfect lap, because that's going to come, but I'm also trying to do things in a certain time crunch, right? I don't want to sit here 3 hours trying to make a video. It's pretty good. That was really good through there. It's alright, but it's still not good enough for the video.
You cut that corner and got a slow down penalty.
So I think this is where I'm going to leave. You know what? Here's what I did in an alternate universe. I stopped this video, because now I start feeling bad. I don't even know who's watching at this point. In that alternate video universe, this video is over. For the sake of showing you guys the whole process of what I do, we're now going to do the hardest part, and that is try and put together a good lap that I feel is good enough for the video. So the talking will probably become less, and it'll just be more about the process, but I'll keep commenting when I feel it applies. So again, we're just focusing on being smooth, hitting our cold tire marks, and again, this is really good practice for cold tires. You know, can really hone those marks in and those braking points and how fast you should be going through corners, and you're just that much more prepared. In the past, cold tires weren't as big a deal in iRacing. I'm talking like 10 years ago, as they are now. At least that's the way it feels to me. I just feel like cold tires are,
You've got wheel damage.
Case in point, I feel like cold tires are just so much more a thing nowadays, which is good, because That's how they should be. Shit, I forgot what my point was. Oh, yeah, I never really liked hot lapping. Hot lapping's never really been my thing. And back in the day, it just kind of felt like you're hot lapping. You know, you had like your tires were cool, they were super grippy, you're just hot lapping. Now you're actually practicing how to drive the tire on cold tires. You know, so I do think there's a lot of value in this hot lapping style of practice I'm doing right now, where I'm just trying to get a good lap for you guys. I think there's a lot of value in it because sometimes that's a part a lot of people overlook. They just run laps. They forget what the car is like when it's cold on the cold tires, and then they can't even run their race because they weren't ready for... They're expecting the car to react a certain way when it does on warm tires, and it doesn't. Alright, that's only 1x you can get on this whole track. And you gotta skip that curb pretty hard to get it. So like right there, I'm braking at 500. That's perfect, you know, but later we're going to be braking at 450, let's say.
You got that corner and got a slow
And I'm
penalty.
starting to get a really good idea of exactly where that black flag is. Because that's the one that's going to catch a lot of people out, I feel like. So you want to get pretty familiar with that. So you aren't one of those people that get caught out. See, I just feel like you're better off taking a more narrow line through that corner. This corner is just, my hardest thing is not carrying too much speed in it right now. Here, that late apex is what you want. That was sweet. Get out wide so we get a good angle. I was even still a little too shallow. Oh, and I broke way too late. So probably another 2 laps before I can really challenge my best time. I feel like you need to lift a little bit there just to help the car rotate. If you don't lift, like you'll kind of push out wide, you won't be able to get close to the wall. That's really good through there. See, that's what I'm talking about. We're on cold tires, but I'm just running better, smoother laps, and I'm almost running my best time. Carried a little too much speed through there. Yeah, it's really important you get that right line in the second part of the curb or the first corner, because then it just throws you off for that whole next section. Narrow track. Okay, I think you actually want to apex where there's no curb. That corner. I think you want to wait to apex in the basically in the middle of the corner. No, I was just a little too fast. Oh. It's all right. I kind of messed up that first right-hander, anyways. Took too much curb, so. I think I'm learning I can carry a little bit more speed through there. So yeah, I think you really want to go mid-late apex for that corner. Yeah, all right. Alright, we still got our apex there. Really good through this whole section. I didn't want to lift, so she got a little loose. See, that's why you gotta lift a little bit or it'll get loose on you. Too much curb. But you can see how if you keep just running laps, you keep learning, you know. We had just figured out the basics, and now it's like we're really trying to put that lap together, and you keep just learning little things here and there. That's why it's just really important to keep running laps. Like here I can lift a little bit later. Really carry that speed through there. And just make sure we get it woed down enough for this corner so we can get a good exit. Yeah, or close. I hope. Dude, and then I just do stupid stuff like that. Like that was a good lap. So now my trickiest corner is whatever that right-hander, left-hander, yeah, right-hander is. First, the 290-degree right-handers. That's the one that's really keeping me from stringing this lap together. You can carry a lot more speed through there. You just gotta make sure you get it low down right here. I feel like, yeah, you really want to be aiming for that middle apex. That was a little too early of an apex, and you just can't really get off the corner as well, I don't think. Problem there is I kind of broke a little too early, and so I didn't have enough speed, so I let off the brakes, and then I let off the brakes too much, and then carried too much speed in the first corner. It's just such a, it's an unnatural corner. I have to brake sooner, and I think I need to brake there. I'm just having this issue where I feel like I need to stay on the throttle a little bit longer and let it float out to the wall and come back in, but there's just not enough time to do that there. I don't know why I keep feeling like there is. So you'll get those situations too where something just feels like, no, I should drive it this way, and you have to fight that like natural urge to drive that way. Terrible line. We'll try and get her apex. Yeah, too early. That wasn't horrible. Yeah, it's an awkward. At that corner, that is now my corner. I've decided it's an awkward corner. So this is probably the outing I will get the lap. It's either this one or the next one, because this is about as long as my videos, or it takes to make my videos. And this is about the point, if it's a longer spell where I haven't got it like in the first 50 minutes. This is about when I get it, because I go through that period of like frustration, well, mental fatigue, then I have to like slow myself back down. And now we're at this point where we pretty much got everything ironed out. We just need to be a little bit more conservative. We need to not push so hard, and you just need to be smooth. And that's the same thing for you guys just running laps. Like when you hit those, can't just go any faster. It's like, okay, well, the only thing I can focus on doing now, because obviously I can't go faster, is be smooth. And be aware of your weaknesses. Like I know my weakness right now is that right-hander where I keep just not being able to get my braking point, my turn-in point right, and just need to be a little bit more conservative smoother through there before I really get it honed in, and then I can start pushing a little bit more. There it is, right there. And that's on cold tires. Just need to be more conservative through there. Woo. Like I really want to get out to that wall to get the widest angle in, but I just don't think I'm getting out to the wall quick enough. It's something I kind of have to force myself to do, and maybe get out there a little bit sooner. Maybe don't worry about getting out to the wall. These are all the little things you can start working on after you get the bases down. The basics. Ooh, that's nice. Yeah, see how I had that wider entry and later apex. Like, I think that's kind of where it's at. Man, that is a rewarding corner right there when you get it figured out, that last little right-hander. Alright, so pretty good. Let's see if we can do a little better.
New fast flat for you.
Messed up that middle section. So right now, I'm happy with the lap I did before, but while I have the tires good, I'm just seeing I can knock a little more out of it. Because I can. But I am happy with how I hit all my marks in that previous one, so I think that's a good example for you guys. Like I said, I can sit here for hours and keep getting faster and faster and faster, but we're not trying to do that. And that's your making of the good enough lap guide. Oh, I missed the shift. I killed 0.6 of a second out of the lap because I missed a shift. Alright, I'm happy with that. I hit all my marks really well there. It was smooth. I didn't overdrive anything. I just lost 0.5 because I missed my upshift at the end there. So that is your making of the good enough lap guide. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, if you watched the whole thing, thank you. That's amazing. I do think there is a lot of value to be gained out of a video like this. It kind of shows you guys my process, how I get faster, how you experiment in the beginning. And honestly, this is just the first step. Like when I was super competitive, This was like the first, how long have we been doing this? An hour and a half, something like that. This was like the first hour and a half of like 6, 8 hours of practice. And that's not even adjusting setups. That's why I like the fixed series. Because you don't have to worry about all that. You kind of have to let your ego go, because it's really easy to be like, well, this type of setup doesn't fit my driving style, which is true, because if you do know how to make setups and adjust a car, you can get it to be a lot faster. So I guess my main point was this is the beginning. And then after this step, you just run laps. You try and be consistent. You try and be smooth. You go into practice sessions with other cars on track. You don't be aggressive with those cars. If they're doing stupid stuff, let them do stupid stuff. And eventually you'll come up to somebody who you can like practice with, like, and they're not doing stupid stuff. And then you can start to learn how to race with people. But honestly, this track, I don't think you're doing anything other than waiting for people to make mistakes. Hopefully their mistake doesn't involve them hitting the wall, bouncing back on the track, and you hitting them, which is probably going to happen more often than not. So you have to be even more cautious when it's coming to getting on the brakes. But then that means you have to look in your rearview mirror even more, because other people behind you aren't going to be cautious. So not only do you have to avoid the guy in front of you, you have to avoid the guys coming up behind you, flying by you, because they don't want to stop for the wreck that's blocking the entire track. So what I'm trying to say is it's going to be an interesting week at St. Petersburg. Yeah, see how the racing goes. It's cool they're putting more street circuits in the game. There wasn't many street circuits when I first played, but I don't know. I think it's gonna be a gnarly week. I like more of like, I'm looking forward to when we're going to like Road America and that kind of stuff. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm just rambling at this point, so I'm gonna hit the end record button and start making this good enough lap guide. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.